Let me ask you a question. Why does anybody care whether a championship team is built or whether the championship team is bought? Because I don't know that there's actually that big of a difference if you really look at it. And that's what we're about to do. But I got to say, does it even matter? And if it does matter to you, is it probably only because your team hasn't bought or built the championship lately? If I say the words evil empire, do you think Star Wars or do you think New York Yankees? If you're a sports person, there's a really good chance you think New York Yankees. I'm going to give you a quick brief on this story. In 2002, just a couple like seasons removed from winning back-to-back World Series, the Yankees, three-peat, they go and they edge out like the Red Sox for a big high-profile free agent named Jose Contreras. They signed him to a 4-year, $32 million deal just like a week after signing Japanese outfielder. I hope you remember this guy because I do, Hideki Matsui. He was awesome. He still is awesome. But he was kind of really interesting when he came over here. It was fun to see if he was going to pan out or not. He did really well. But when asked about the Red Sox team president, when they asked him, they said, hey, how do you feel about losing out on this guy to the Yankees, whatever? He comes up and he says, the evil empire extends its tentacles even into Latin America. So he's clearly pissed. He's not happy that was the first time they were called the evil empire. That was the first time. And man, I'll tell you what, did the Yankees embrace that? Because they still consider themselves the evil empire, which is crazy because they haven't won anything in 16 years or something like that. But I mean, they even played like Star Wars theme music during introductions at the time in like the 2004 season or something. And maybe they still do. I don't actually know. But it is a name that the Yankees have owned ever since. And in 2018, Brian Cashman even called his front office a fully operational Death Star, which is crazy. That's 2018. That's 2018 he said that. They won their last World Series in 2009. So it was almost a decade when he said that. And now they're going on 16 years, which is crazy. But if you ask any Yankee fan, like, hey, do you guys care that your 27 championships were bought or built through the farm system? And I'm telling you, every single one of them, no matter who you ask, it's going to be a resounding no. Absolutely not. Why would we? Why would we care? We have 27 rings. They don't care how they got them. And that's fair. That's fair. They don't care that they got them from 1900 to 1935 and then a few more later. But here's the thing. This to me begs the question, like, who really cares if a team is bought or built? Is MLB not a business with 30 teams doing whatever it takes within the rules to build like the best team possible in order to beat they want to be the last man standing? This is a multi-billion dollar business. So what do we expect? We expect them not to do whatever it takes or not to buy players, not to use all the resources they have to build the best team possible. Is there a difference between being bought and being built? I don't really think there is. I'll tell you why. Because let's do this. This is going to be as unbiased as I can be, but the Dodgers make sense here to talk about, obviously. And I'm going to tell you why I think they're good for baseball. And I would say the same thing if it was another team. I promise you. I promise. But they are like today's evil empire. No doubt about it. Which I think is actually funny because they're not referred to as the evil empire. They're referred to as, a lot of people like call them the Avengers because they have literally like the greatest baseball team ever assembled, like ever, which is crazy. And the Avengers, if you don't know, which you probably do, is it's a movie that sees like a team of superheroes come together to defeat evil, which is fitting. A funny side note on that, actually, I find this to be hilarious that they're called the Avengers because in the movie, like the Avengers, sorry, I just like got a little knot in my trap. The Avengers in the movie, they operated in the state of New York, which I find to be hilarious. Like originally from the Avengers Tower, which was in like Midtown Manhattan. And then their like Avengers compound was in upstate New York, which I think for this connection of this story is just very funny. But so here's the thing. Are they good for baseball? I think so. Everybody hated the Yankees back then, and they still do, unless you're a Yankee fan. But They were the villains of the MLB when nobody else was, and everybody wanted to beat the Yankees. Now, everybody still wants to beat the Yankees because what they did back then, they built themselves into the evil empire. They took over. They spent all the money. Cashman was not messing around. He was doing whatever it took to win, and people hated it because they were doing that. And so when anybody ever beat the Yankees, it was awesome. We loved it. So what happens when you have somebody like that, a team like that? If you're a Texas Rangers fan and the Yankees are the evil empire and your Texas Rangers don't make playoffs or they get bounced in the playoffs or something, you now have 28 other teams you're rooting for or whoever is in the playoffs to put the Yankees out. Somebody's got to beat who do you want to win the World Series? Anybody but the Yankees. Don't care. My team's already out. But I still have something to root for and watch. It's no different right now with the Dodgers. Look at it this way. This Dodgers team is wild. 2025 Dodgers. They just won their second back-to-back. They're going for a three-peat in 2026. In 2025, they had 7 MVP trophies on that team. They had 5 Cy Young Awards on their roster. 7 MVP trophies between, 3 guys, 4, whatever it is, and 5 Cy Young Awards. They had 19 guys with a World Series ring from the year before and multiple guys with multiple World Series rings. And they're coming off a World Series win against the Yankees. What do you know? That World Series was huge. People loved to watch it, even if they didn't want to watch it. It was like, I hate these guys. I hate those guys. I want to watch somebody lose. That's what they wanted to do. So in 2024, the Dodgers beat the Yankees 4-1 pretty handily. It wasn't really a great series. Dodgers dominated. Yankees weren't good. But then they come back. They had the second highest payroll last year. And then 2025 rolls around and they come in with the highest payroll. They went from the second highest payroll to the number 1 payroll in sports, in baseball, which they said, cool, we won one. We won another one. And we have the means to do it, so that's what we're going to do. And people were pissed. They were pissed. They added huge pieces to a 2024 World Series team in Roki Sasaki, Hyesung Kim, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, Blake Snell. Like, this team was so good. And then they got so much better, and people were pissed. It is the new evil empire. Everybody except for Dodgers fans wants to see the Dodgers lose. They don't care if it's their team that puts them out or somebody else's team. They just want to see them lose. And a perfect example of this is the most watched World Series in a long time. Game 7 was one of the most watched World Series games ever, I think. I know this World Series did crazy numbers. And it was the Blue Jays versus the Dodgers. Does anybody out there look at the Blue Jays and go, that's my team? Absolutely not. Was everybody except for Los Angeles rooting for the Blue Jays? Yeah. Because baseball and sports in general, they need the villain. They need that team that everybody wants to see get beat. It was the Patriots for a long time. It was the Chiefs for a long time. It was the Miami Heat for a long time. It was the Golden State Warriors for a long time. It's good for the sport. Everybody wants equality. Let's all spend the same and get the same. That's not going to matter. It won't make a difference. If the Colorado Rockies can pay a pitcher the same exact amount that the San Diego Padres can pay a pitcher, you think somebody's going to go say, I'll go pitch in that hitter-friendly park up in Colorado? Or no, I'm going to go to the pitcher-friendly park in San Diego where it's beautiful. You think somebody's going to go, yeah, let me go to the East Coast where the summers are blazing hot and I'm sweating my ass off, and then the winters are freezing cold and I'm freezing to death. You think anybody's going to choose that over anything on the West Coast? I can go to the Dodgers where all the other good players are. Or I can go to the East Coast and play for a team that probably isn't very good, and the weather sucks, and the atmosphere sucks. It's crazy to think that people want this to all be equal. And here's the thing. People get mad at these guys for spending money. They get mad. Consider this. The Mets' 2025 payroll was 90% of their 2024 revenue. They spent $400 million on their payroll. And I know these numbers are whatever. No, they only spent whatever. It comes out to what it comes out to. 90%. 90% of what they made in 2024, they paid in payroll in 2025. The Dodgers, 73% of their 2024 revenue, they spent $549 million, which is the highest in the league by $149 million over the Mets. The Mets have the highest percentage. The Dodgers have the highest dollar spend. There's 24 teams that spent less than 60% of their previous year's revenue on the 2025 payroll. Don't blame like the rich teams, blame the cheap teams. These are billionaire owners. I know this is the big argument right now. I'm not even going to get into that, but the Dodgers made $203 million last year. That's what it says. The revenue and then what they spent. It says the revenue of 2024 and what they spent on payroll in 2025 comes out to they made $203 million between those two numbers. You know what the Miami Marlins, you know what they made? $231 million. The Miami Marlins, who spent 27% of their 2024 earnings, their revenue, they spent 27% of it the following year. And they weren't good. They had very few fans. They weren't bad for what actually people expected, but they weren't good. They spent 27%. Why are you going to be mad at the teams like the Mets that pay 90% to their guys and the Dodgers that pay 73% and go win a World Series for their fans and they make it competitive and they make it fun every year? You're going to be mad at those guys, but you're not going to be mad at the billionaires that are spending 27% of what they made the year before? You're not going to be mad at the Marlins who made more money, or at least in this equation, than the Dodgers? Why? I think you're mad at the wrong people. And let's be real. This is baseball. You can build the best roster on the planet. You can do that. But it doesn't guarantee you anything other than you have a little bit better of a chance, obviously. It helps. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm not saying it's the end-all be-all. The Dodgers had to get lucky several times just in Game 7 of the World Series to win it. They got to play at the plate. The guy's out by this much. They got lucky that IKF took a 2-foot lead. If he took a 4-foot lead, he's safe and they don't win. They got lucky that Clement hit that ball to the warning track and Pages clobbered into Kike and caught it. They got lucky that wasn't a walk-off. They got lucky that Vladdy Jr.'s ball to center field wasn't a walk-off. It was just a fly out to the warning track. You have to have things go the right way. You got to stay healthy. You got to do a lot of things in baseball. If you build a super team in basketball, football, your chances of winning are much better. If you build it in baseball, you still need a little bit of luck. And that's just the truth. I'll tell you right here. Look at this. 2015, the World Series was, this is payroll numbers. I'll tell you the payroll numbers. In 2015, the World Series, Royals beat the Mets. They were 15-18 on payroll. 2016, 5 Cubs beat the 18 Indians. 2017, the 17 Astros beat the number 1 payroll Dodgers. 18, number 1 Red Sox beat number 3 Dodgers. 19, the number 7 Nationals. Yep, Juan Soto and company. They beat the number 8 Astros. 2020, number 1 Dodgers beat the number 28 payroll Tampa Bay Rays. They were 28th in payroll, and they're in the World Series with the number 1 team. You're telling me 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 couldn't make it in? But they spent so much more money and had so many better guys. Did they? This is baseball. It doesn't matter. 2021, 10 Braves beat the 5 Astros. 2022, 8 Houston beat the 4 Phillies. 2023, 4 Texas beat 21 Arizona. 21. 21st out of 30 teams in payroll. And they were in the World Series. You know who they put out that year? The Dodgers. They were good. They were just good. 2024, the number 2 Dodgers beat the number 3 Yankees. In 2025, the number 1 Dodgers beat the number 3 Blue Jays. Does it help? Yes. Is it a guarantee? Not even close. It's not even close. Since the wild card era in 1995 started, 1995, 89% of World Series champions were in the top 15 in payroll. And then even further, 2/3 of them have been in the top 10. So does it help? 100%. You got to spend money. In business, this is a business. And in business, the most true saying there is you got to spend money to make money. You just have to. So when you look at MLB as a business and you look at teams that are doing it the right way, saying, we are billionaire owners, we bought this team to put everything into it and see what's happening. Like, this is nothing new. 1995, since the wild card started, 89% of World Series champs were in the top 15 in payroll, and then 2/3 of them have been in the top 10. This isn't new. Teams who spend win at a much higher rate, of course. The point is to give yourself a chance. It's to give your fans a show. I just told you it's a business. So why aren't all the teams spending like the Evil Empire and the Avengers? Why not? It's because it takes more than that. That's why some teams are built, some teams are bought. And in the unique situation, some teams are both. And I think the Dodgers are both. I'll tell you why. Their farm system has been in the top 10 for the last 6 years. In the last 4 years, they've been 2, 3, 3, and 2. What people miss is when you trade for a superstar, when you're trying to get these big guys and you have to trade for them instead of just buy them in free agency, you have to have something to trade. Rarely is a superstar traded for a superstar straight up. Boom, good swap. One team is usually a year away from losing the guy, so they're trying to get what they can for him. Look at the Tarek Skubal situation in Detroit. The Dodgers have been front runners in the media, at least, and I say this in the media because there could be nothing happening backstage. But in the media, they've been front runners to get Tarek Skubal. And when you look at what they're giving him, it's one, I think, good pitcher. I don't know who. Let's call it, I don't know, somebody the Tigers could use. A good, big league, established guy. And then they're 2, they're 5, and they're 7 prospects. 3 guys that have the chance to be really good. They're number 2, 5, and 7 in the Dodgers organization. That's called homegrown guys. So does it matter? Does it really matter if you draft a guy, you build him up, you build him through your organization, and then you bring him to the big leagues and he helps you? Or is it the same thing if you draft a prospect that looks really good and you do a great job scouting and you get the right guy, and then you develop him in your minor league farm system, and then when a guy like Skubal comes around, you use that guy to acquire a Skubal? Is that built or is it bought? Did you build up your farm system so that you could have good things to trade, or did you not? I mean, it seems so simple to me, but people want to just put it on money, but there's so much more to it. There's culture, there's a lot of things. And I'm not saying just the Dodgers. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this as unbiased as possible. It's hard to wear a Dodger hat, talk about the Dodgers, but everybody knows right now this is who they are. They're a team that is getting every good guy they can. Simple as that. They've built something that the best players in the league want to be a part of. That's for sure. That's why a guy like Edwin Diaz, who gets offered a longer contract with more money from some team, I don't know who, and then the Mets, the team he's on, says, hey, whatever the Dodgers offer you, we'll give you more. But he goes and gets 3 years, 69 from the Dodgers, and doesn't even go back to the Mets for more money. He doesn't even come back and say, hey, this is what they offered me. What can you offer? He said, 3 years, I'm in. I want to win. That's what he said. Easy decision. I want to win. It's crazy. So I don't know. I don't think that built should always just mean you drafted, you developed, you brought them to the big leagues, they helped you. I think it should mean you built this team off a good draft, good development, and then you had trade bait. You had guys in your farm system to add to the trade. Hey, well, let's get this guy. If you buy him in free agency, good. Almost every team is competitive when it comes to getting one guy. So if they end up with a team like the Dodgers for a lot of money, but not any more money than any other team could afford for one guy, there's a reason. They built something. They built something special. And we could test this theory because this is actually very interesting. 2025 playoff teams, their farms. I wanted to look at their farm systems and see where they rank. The Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Padres, and the Red Sox. All 4 playoff teams. All were supposed to be pretty good. Had a little disappointing playoffs other than the Red Sox, or other than the Blue Jays, obviously. all of them are outside of the top 10. All of them. They're all outside the top 10 in farm system rankings coming into the 2026 season. The Brewers are number 1. That's a playoff team. Dodgers, number 2. What do you know? Tigers, number 3. Mariners, number 4. That's 4 teams that made good playoff appearances this year, and they're 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the farm systems. And number 5 is the Pirates, in case you were wondering. So I want to see what happens to these teams over the next 2 years. After a playoff appearance, after good runs, does the farm system matter that much? Will those teams underachieve after making the playoffs, or will they pick up a guy or two, or will they stay the same if they don't have a good farm system? And will these teams right here that have the 1 through 5 farm systems, specifically the 1 through 4 and the Brewers, Dodgers, Tigers, and Mariners, who made great playoff runs, all of them, are those teams going to come back better next year by either trading prospects for dudes at the break or bringing up some prospects that help their team? It's going to be an interesting season. But I encourage you to, instead of thinking of like baseball needs to be the way it should be, which is like the most romanticized, it's the Cinderella story. It's the 2015 Royals, who this group of guys that was drafted and together for years in the minor leagues came all the way up through and they finished the job and it was friggin' awesome and it's everybody's favorite team. Sure. But how often does that happen? It's not a ton. That's the draft, develop, and win. So I think what we need to look at now is what's happening, what has been happening for a long, long time, and enjoy it for what it is. 29, I mean, it's your team, and then it's 29 other teams right now figuring out how to take down the Avengers, how to take down the new evil empire. And that's fun to watch. It's fun to root against a team, just like it's fun to root for a team. 29 fan bases are against the Dodgers coming into 2026. And they're going to be so happy if they don't get it done. So happy. Like, think about how glorious it is when someone finally does that. Right? Everyone loves to see the king fall. And we have that right now. That's what the Dodgers have built. They're on the throne, and everyone's waiting for them to get taken off. I think that's what sports should be. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know how you feel. I got a feeling I know how most people feel, but I wanted to give my perspective on what buying a team really means and what building a team really means. And I think they're very similar. Way more similar than most people are either willing to admit, or maybe you just didn't think about it this way. But that's the show. As always, I love you guys. Like, subscribe, share. It gets pushed out. The last few episodes have been crushing. I can't even tell you how excited that makes me. And now I'm like thinking of new topics for you guys, new spins to put on things. Nothing crazy, just giving a regular Joe take on baseball. But again, hit the follow, subscribe, share, all the platforms. Anything that doesn't cost you guys any money to support me makes me happy, and I love it.